Hello everyone, this is Mike from the On the Stack podcast at iceworm.org/magic, back with another Tiny Leaders deck video. Our commander in this deck is Chandra, Fire of Kaladesh from Magic Origins. She costs 1 colorless, 2 red. She's 2/2. Whenever you cast a red spell, you can untap Chandra, Fire of Kaladesh. She also has the ability tap Chandra, Fire of Kaladesh, deals 1 damage to target player. If Chandra has dealt 3 or more damage this turn, exile her, then return her to the battlefield transformed under her owner's control. And that 3 damage doesn't have to be caused by her tapping ability. So, for example, you can attack with her for 2. If she doesn't block, she'll do 2 damage. And then your second main phase, play a spell, untap her, tap her again to deal 1 more damage, and then bring her back in as her new Planeswalker form, Chandra, Roaring Flame. She enters the battlefield with 4 loyalty counters. She has a +1 ability to deal 2 damage to target player, a -2 ability to do 2 damage to target creature, and a -7 ability to deal 6 damage to each opponent, and each opponent dealt damage that way gets an emblem that reads, at the beginning of your upkeep, this emblem deals 3 damage to you. So every upkeep they're going to be taking damage. Into our lands, we just have 20 mountains. We're going to move into our artifacts. I just have 1 Altar of the Brood, 1 colorless. Whenever another permanent enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent puts a top card of his or her library into her graveyard. This deck has a lot of token generation, so when tokens come into play, they're going to be causing this to cause your opponents to mill. Into our creatures, I have 1 Foundry Street Denizen, 1 red for a 1/1. Whenever another red creature enters the battlefield under your control, it gets +1/+0 until the end of turn. I have 1 Goblin Chieftain for 1 colorless and 2 red. It has haste, and other goblin creatures you control get +1/+1 and also gain haste, and he's a 2/2 as well. I have 1 Goblin Elite Infantry for 1 and a red. It's a 2/2. Whenever it blocks or becomes blocked, it gets -1/-1 until the end of turn. I have 1 Goblin Pile Driver for 1 and a red. It's a 1/2. Has protection from blue, and whenever it attacks, it gets +2/+0 until the end of turn for each other attacking goblin. We also have 1 Goblin Rabble Master for 2 and a red. It's a 2/2. Other goblin creatures you control attack each turn if able. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a 1/1 red goblin token with haste onto the battlefield. And whenever he attacks, he gets +1/+0 for each other attacking goblin. So the tokens he generates will also trigger Altar of the Brood. We have 1 Goblin Sky Cutter for 1 and a red. It's a 2/1. I can sacrifice it to deal 2 damage to target creature with flying. That creature then also loses flying until the end of turn. We have 1 Gutter Snipe for 2 and a red. It's a 2/2. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. We have 1 Mardu Scout for 2 red for a 3/1. You can also dash it for 1 colorless and 1 red. We have 1 Mud Button Torch Runner. He costs 2 colorless and a red. He's a 1/1, and if it gets put into a graveyard from play, it deals 3 damage to target creature or player. I have 1 Raging Goblin, just 1 red for a 1/1 with haste. And we have 1 Subterranean Scout for 1 colorless, 1 red. He's a 2/1, and when it enters the battlefield, target creature with power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn. So you're going to want to use this, for example, with Chandra. So you want to play Chandra. The next turn, play a Subterranean Scout, make Chandra unblockable so she can do 2 damage, and then your second main phase play another spell, untap Chandra, tap her again to deal 1 more damage, and bring her back in as a Planeswalker. Into our enchantments, I have 1 Barrage of Expendables, just costs 1 red, and then you can pay 1 red to sacrifice a creature to deal 1 damage to target creature or player. Like I said, there's a lot of tokens in this deck, so you're going to have no shortage of tokens. We have 1 Circle of Flame for 1 and a red. Whenever a creature without flying attacks you or a Planeswalker you control, Circle of Flame deals 1 damage to that creature. So if they want to attack Chandra and you have this out, they're going to be taking damage to do so. We have 1 Goblin Assault for 2 colorless and 1 red. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a 1/1 red goblin creature token with haste into play, and goblin creatures attack each turn if able. We have 1 Goblin Slide for 2 and a red. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you can pay colorless. If you do, put a 1/1 red goblin creature token with haste onto the battlefield, so more token generation. We have Impact Tremors for 1 and a red. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, Impact Tremors deals 1 damage to each opponent. So the perfect situation for this card, and you want to have out your Goblin Assault, you want to have out Altar of the Brood, and this. So when Goblin Assault triggers and it puts a 1/1 Goblin into play during your upkeep, they'll mill 1 from Altar of the Brood. Your opponents will also take 1 damage from Impact Tremors. Finally, in the enchantments, we have 1 Raid Bombardment for 2 colorless and a red. Whenever a creature you control with power 2 or less attacks, it deals 1 damage to a defending player. So, like I said, you're swinging with a lot of creatures. I think everything in this deck is power 2 or less anyway. And you're going to have a lot of 1/1 tokens, so you can do a lot of damage by just attacking with everything. And even if stuff gets blocked, the enchantment will still cause damage. Into our instance, I have 1 Lightning Bolt for 1 red, causes 3 damage to target creature or player. 1 Magma Spray, deals 2 damage to target creature. If that creature will be put in the graveyard this turn, remove it from the game instead, so it essentially gets exiled. I have 1 Searing Blood for 2 red. It deals 2 damage to target creature, and when that creature dies this turn, it also deals 3 damage to that creature's controller. So if you play this on a 2/2, it'll kill a 2/2 creature and then cause 3 damage to go to the opponent as well. And finally, we have 1 Shock to 1 red, deals 2 damage to target creature or player. And into our sorceries, I have 1 Arc Lightning for 2 and a red, deals 3 damage divided as you choose between 1, 2, or 3 target creatures or players. We have 1 Bathe in Dragonfire for 2 and a red. It deals 4 damage to target creature. So if they have a creature they've buffed up, you can get rid of it with this. We have 1 Dragon Fodder for 1 and a red. Put 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens onto the battlefield. We have 1 Fireball for X in red. Deals X damage divided evenly, rounded down among any number of target creatures and or players. And it costs 1 more to cast for each target beyond the first one. So if you just want to do a ton of damage to an opponent, you just do X plus 1 red. Finally, we have next we have 1 Goblin Grenade. Sacrifice a Goblin to have Goblin Grenade deal 5 damage to 1 target. That's creature or player. We have 1 Hordling Outburst for 1 colorless, 2 red. Put 3 1/1 red goblins onto the battlefield. And finally, we have 1 Scouring Sands, and it deals 1 damage to each creature your opponents control, and then you get a Scry 1, and it just costs 1 and a red. This deck is a lot of fun. I've played it a few times already. I'm really liking it. If you have any suggestions or like cards I should take out or put in, leave them in the comments below. As always, rate, comment, and subscribe, and have a good one.